People come to live, to raise their families, and start their businesses. I know that we can do that together, and I can hardly wait to do it with you.
Well, should I have that privilege? I hope they'll say, I think what they've said when they sent a high school teacher with no political experience to the United States Congress. And last year in my re-election, in one of the endorsements, it said, Tim Walz brings a soldier's work ethic to the job. He brings a teacher's patience to the job. And he brings a joyfulness and a good spirit to the job. And I think one of the things we understand this is politics is nothing more than relationships. Politics is nothing more than trying to find how do we improve our communities, how do we improve our states. Our neighbors are out there, and political differences can't be seen as the divide that is uncrossable. It has to be able to be seen those common core values. And I hope after 8 years, one of the things is, again, Minnesota's the state that works. Minnesota's the state that understands that investment in education should be something all of us can find a way forward on, bringing people to solve that. And of course, we're hearing this. Minnesota should lead. We should be transformational. If we want to tackle the national debt, let's cure Alzheimer's. The Mayo Clinic and others are working on those things. Let's be innovators in that, and let's make sure that every single person, I hope it's what they say about me, he saw and he heard. We've been talking about, Peggy and I, this idea of co-governing, the idea that there's people out there, that's what they're hungry for. They want to understand that the governor doesn't sit at the head of the table on everything. The governor has a seat at the table at times. You bring people in who understand their communities, who understand what their challenges are, who understand what needs to be done, and allow them to do that. There's not power in this office. The power is to be able to be the servant leader that attracts people in. And if we're still trying to find ways to divide us, rather than find us together, or trying to find ways that they are insufferable, or trying to find ways and wonder how 62 million people voted for President Trump, it's our responsibility to give that aspirational vision. So I hope what they say is, he brought the joyfulness, the innovation that resides in all the Minnesotans, and he made a way to try to get something done, to move something forward, and maybe at the end of the day, if they do a measure, a GDP measure, whatever else, I think the measure is, how happy are the people of Minnesota? That's what we can do. I hope I can do that as your governor.
So one of my political heroes is our former Governor Floyd B. Olson. Anybody ever heard of Floyd B. Olson? So I had to look up on my phone, excuse me for reading this, but there's a wonderful plaque in the Capitol about Floyd B. Olson, and this is what it says. He was governor, he lived from 1891 to 1936. So it says, born in near poverty, schooled in adversity, intimate with hunger and want, out of this crucible came pioneer leadership with purposeful direction and the indomitable courage to seek new frontiers of economic security for the underprivileged. I won't read the rest, I'll let you read it. But I think this is about the best thing that you can say about somebody. He fought for the ordinary person. He fought to make sure everybody had opportunity. He fought for the little person. He stood up to the big shots and the insiders. That's the kind of governor that I want to be. That's what I want people to say about me. It's kind of, I mean, it's not a very humble thing to say, I guess, to want to have that aspiration. But that's why I want to run, because I want every child in this state, no matter what they look like, no matter where they're born, no matter what family they're born into, to have opportunity to feel like the world is their oyster, to grow up to have hope, and to make the total best use of their God-given talents. That's my vision for this state. Thank you.
Well, I hope that when 2030 comes, Minnesota is the most equal state in the country instead of the second most unequal state in the country. I hope that we're a state where Black lives actually matter, where Hispanic lives actually matter, where Indigenous people lives actually matter, where people with disabilities actually matter. But that's not the case today, and we need to get there. I want this to be a state, we haven't talked too much about this, where we have a second Minnesota miracle that's focused on the birth to 5, the very earliest years. We know today, thank you, we know today that the brain development in those first 1,000 days is so fundamentally critical. We should say, just like we did 40 years ago when we passed the first Minnesota miracle that said every child in the state should have a great K-12 education, we now need to say every child in the state needs to have a great early childhood education, early child care, early child health care, all of those things, and prenatal care. And we can do that in the state of Minnesota. We can do a lot of stuff. We can do pass Medicare for all. We can have debt-free college. We can have clean water. But I also want this to be a state where people feel that they don't feel today like their voice matters, like they have control over their destiny, both economically and politically. And I want to provide that kind of leadership. And here's the thing. I know how to do this because we've done it and I've done it before. We've done it together. When I was Speaker of the House, we came in with a multi-million-dollar budget deficit. We had borrowed $2 billion from our schools. We had no budget reserve. We paid that back, we balanced our budget, and we invested in all-day kindergarten, and early childhood education, and froze college tuitions, and invested in broadband. We did all of these things, and raised the minimum wage. We made this state work again, and we can do it again with the right leadership, and what it comes down to is how we pass marriage equality. I remember standing at the podium as we gabbled down the vote for marriage equality, and I'm a kind of Scandinavian guy, right, but I choked up when I called that vote. Because I knew that there were people with incredible courage in that chamber who took votes that they knew might cost them their political career, and we need more of that kind of leadership in the state. But more importantly, I knew there were thousands of people behind the chamber door who had made it happen and whose lives were going to be fundamentally changed as a result. That's the kind of politics we need back in the state, because if we do that, we can accomplish everything everybody up here has talked about tonight. Thank you.
Start with closing statements. I was asked by our timekeeper, who also doubles as the 5th Congressional District DFL Treasurer, to let you know that they will be passing buckets around. Again, this was organized by an all-volunteer organization, the 5th Congressional District DFL. And so thank you to all the organizers. They do have to spend money to rent this auditorium and other things. There will be a lot of expenses coming up in the next year, including precinct caucuses. So just throwing out there so everybody puts on their calendar that DFL precinct caucuses will be Tuesday, February 6th, 2018. So again, before closing statements, thank you all for being here on a snowy Friday night. It's certainly wonderful to see so many people who are dedicated and interested in this upcoming race. And thank you so much to our amazing pool of talented, dedicated, passionate candidates who I think we are very fortunate to have these full candidates trying to represent us in Minnesota. So without further ado, again, we'll start with closing statements. Chris Coleman, then Paul Thiessen, then Tina Liebling, Tim Walls, Aaron Murphy, and Rebecca Otto. And each candidate has up to 2 minutes for the closing statement. Thank you.
Well, I have a couple weeks left as mayor, and one of my tasks left is to clean out my office. And right now, it looks like a tornado has gone through a rummage sale, and there are 12 years of reminders of the work that we have done in the city of St. Paul. But they're not just reminders of the work that we've done. They're reminders of the work that remains. They're reminders of work that we have to carry across the state of Minnesota. There's a certificate that recognized that St. Paul was the very first city in the state of Minnesota to pass a comprehensive smoking ban in restaurants and public spaces. There's a poster in the corner from a concert that reminds us that we have to lift up artists and art across the state of Minnesota because it can drive the vitality of our community. There's a Wheaties box with my face on it, which is pretty cool, that I got from the Children's Defense Fund, reminding us that we have worked so hard to make sure that every child in the city of St. Paul has the resources and the support that they need to be successful. All of these reminders tell us that our work is not done. That as Democrats, we must stand to accomplish what we know we need to accomplish if Minnesota is truly going to be a great state. In the corner of my office is a bust of my father, who served proudly as the majority leader of the Minnesota State Senate when Minnesota fought on behalf of the voiceless and became known as a state that worked for all. And behind my desk, there's a chair that my grandmother, long before I was mayor, used to come down to City Hall with her great-grandchildren and put her great-grandchildren in those chairs, in that chair, to remind them that they are capable of anything. And even though they're the son, grandson, great-grandson of an immigrant, that if they dream big and they live in a community that supports them, they can accomplish anything. They can be mayor, they can be governor, they can be a civic leader. That's the state of Minnesota that I want to create for all. That's the vision that I bring, as a candidate for governor. I want to be the next governor of the state of Minnesota to lead that fight on behalf of everyone. Thank you so much.
Well, it's really important that we're here in the 5th Congressional District in Minneapolis. Because frankly, this is where we are going to win this election. It's all of you who are going to win this election for Democrats. I am not going to shy away from the fact that I grew up in Bloomington. I am not going to shy away from the fact that I live in Minneapolis. We should be proud of that. The fact of the matter is Minnesotans don't care what your address is. Ask Minneapolis Governor Mark Dayton, Amy Klobuchar, Tina Smith, Al Franken. Where are they all from? Minneapolis. We do not have to give in to the cynical politics, the fearful politics of Republicans and some establishment Democrats that say people from the Twin Cities can't win statewide. That is absolutely not true. It's not true historically, and it's not true. It's not going to be true in 2018, and I want to work with you to make sure that that happens. Secondly, I'm going to honor your endorsement. I will say it here and now and clearly. I will honor your endorsement because we don't have a savior that's going to win this election for us. We don't win these elections alone. We win it together. We need to build a movement that is going to win this election for the state of Minnesota. And the last thing I want to say is that the only way we win is if we say yes to the future of Minnesota. If we say yes. Saying no is easy, and I have built my career on saying yes to the future, to new opportunities, to new ideas. We can say yes to Medicare for all in this state, can't we? We can say yes to debt-free college. We can say yes to building things again. We can say yes to a clean energy economy. We can say yes to being a state that welcomes immigrants and refugees fleeing oppression anywhere in the world. We can say yes to being a country that makes sure our criminal justice system actually lives up to the name justice. We can say yes to a state where we actually get our money out of politics, where we overturn Citizens United, and we have free and fair elections where everybody can participate. That's the kind of state we can be, and I know that we can get there because I have done that, and I've done it with you, and I want to be your governor to do that again because there are so many amazing things we can do in this state if we lift up the energy of Minnesotans. That's what we need. We have so much to fight for. We are at a war in this country over the future of our children, over the future of the most disadvantaged, over the future of everyone in this room, and we're going to win that war, and I want to do that for you. Thank you very much.
So there are sort of some different paradigms here of what it takes to win. And I think there are some differences among the candidates. Mayor Coleman said that we're all kind of the same on healthcare. I don't think that's true. I don't think we are talking about the same thing. You know, universal healthcare is not universal single-payer healthcare without insurance companies. That's a different thing. So we're not all saying the same thing. There's a different paradigm here. Some of us are saying, we can bring people together, everybody, we can work out these big problems, and you know, sometimes that's true. And when it's true, we should do it. But I don't think, generally speaking, that that's really the world we're in now. And that's why I supported Bernie Sanders, because he was talking about what the world really is right now. And the world right now is a place where the super wealthy and the corporations are taking as much as they can. As much wealth, as much political power, and leaving less and less and less for everybody else. So that's what we have to face. So over a recent 40-year period, wages, the productivity of Americans went up 72%, average wages went up 9%, and CEO compensation 950%. So, is there any wonder what's going on? So I'm a person who will stand up to the forces that are stopping people from getting ahead. That's why I'm in this race, because I believe we have to be bold. We have to be bold. I understand compromise is necessary. I've been married 32 years. I understand compromise. But we have to fight for the things we know are good for people. We have to understand they need a living wage now, not in 5 years, now. And fight for that. If we can't get it all, we move forward again. So, I'm the candidate who's willing to stand up and fight. I've done it. I take on the insurance companies. I take on the big forces. I can't be bullied or intimidated. And if you want a bold progressive for your governor, just remember what TINA stands for. There is no alternative. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ann, for moderating. Thank you for the organizers, and thank you. Billions of people around the world are not given this opportunity to come and make the choices, the direction of their lives. I know the frustrations we all feel, and as I said when we started tonight, this is a challenging week for all of us. We're heartbroken on many fronts. We're frustrated, we see things happening, but the antidote to that is gathering together, making a difference, and believing. I refuse to fall into the politics of cynicism. I refuse to believe that we can't solve these problems. I refuse to believe our future is not brighter. And I refuse to believe that our neighbors' hearts don't care about these things. I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure all of these things are going to have to be taken to every corner of Minnesota. And I believe that Peggy and my ticket here, that we look like Minnesota. We may have the smallest signs, but I guarantee you we have the biggest campaign. We've got organizers in every district. We're going grassroots because we don't believe this is going to be done with ads. We don't believe it's going to be done that way. We want to bring people to the table to make sure if you're going to be impacted by these decisions that are being made in government, you need to be at the table. You need to be there and understand that you add value. You add value to the discussion. You add values to your community. We can't just talk about it. You have to model it. These campaigns are nothing more than, yes, very long, ridiculously expensive job interviews. But we're interviewing to make sure we're the people there that can bring folks together to solve the problems. It's what I've done. In the most divided Congress, probably since the Civil War, I'm still able to move pieces of legislation affecting people's lives in terms of mental health care, bringing people together to solve those issues that we care about. That's what this is going to take in this environment. And we can do it with our strong progressive voice, and we can do it with an understanding that people are busy and they're not following everything, but their hearts are in the right place. Give me the opportunity to be your governor and Peggy to be your lieutenant governor. We will co-govern in this state to bring people there, making sure everyone feels that the opportunities in Minnesota are there. Thank you.
I've learned that it's important as a woman running for governor that I'd like to know that I'm qualified to do the job. I've got executive experience. I've also got a record of accomplishment in the legislature. I've passed lots of policy. I was the majority leader when we had those big games with Governor Dayton. Great experience. And I love politics. And I love people. Those have been the things that have taught me what I need to know to be the state's next governor. I'm a registered nurse, and what that has taught me and what that has brought with me, what I have brought with me into my work, is that I can't walk away from a hard problem. You can't walk away from the patient. You got to stick with it and take care of them, even when the choice that you want isn't there in front of you. And in politics right now, we walk away too often from the things that are challenging. We wait until next year, or the year after that, until another election. We can't keep doing that because our future is at stake. I'm married to a guy named Joe Faust. Joe is a painter. Joe's been painting houses in Minnesota since 1980 after he got done with school. In 2008 and 2009, his small business almost got wiped out in the economic recession that hit this country. And I am an optimist, but Joe is a pessimist. And when I say, how come you're so mad? He says, no one on Wall Street paid a price for what they did to our economy, but we did. Our family did. Our kids were in college. We had to borrow money, they had to borrow money, and Joe is 60 years old and he wants off that ladder, but he can't get off that ladder because his economic security is not settled yet. So he'll keep working and he is frustrated. And when I listen to Minnesotans across the state, that's what they're frustrated about, that the things that matter to them are not getting tended to. I'm going to be the governor that does that. I'm going to be the governor that does that. We are not, Minnesota, a state that we must protect against the forces of the right. Instead, we are the front line for a progressive vision for Minnesota and for the future. We stand up for our painters. We stand up for our farmers. We stand up for our waitresses and our nurses and our teachers and our local business owners. And when we come together, we can build that right future that I believe in. And if you believe that you can have to join me in this race, thank you very, very much.
So I'm Rebecca Otto. I'm a Democrat. I live on a farm. We have farmers in our party. I was born into a union family, and my husband's in unions, so there's the labor. And, you know, we're in unprecedented times. And we know what's happening at the federal level. There's absolute paralysis, and we've got some really crazy policies and things that come out of our current president that are deeply troubling and frankly traumatizing for a lot of people. And the politics of greed has paralyzed the federal level, the big money, whether it's the NRA, the Koch brothers, or whoever else. And I contend it's gonna take the states to lead us out of this mess. We are gonna have to do this. I'm running for governor because number one, I can win. If you wanna win, I am your best bet. I've run in one statewide 3 times. I got through a primary, I was outspent 4-1, and we got 81% of the vote in August. I have a lot of goodwill out there across the state. I've been an executive in state government. I've got real plans that are up. I'm the only one that are deeply progressive. And we need a progressive agenda, and we can do it, and it's not too hard. And the media is asking, Rebecca, are these DFL plans? And I said, no, they're Minnesota plans, because they'll be meaningful for all of our fellow Minnesotans. And we must lead on climate change. Donald Trump is trying to drag us backwards into the dark ages, into the 50s, with women's reproductive rights, with civil rights, with all kinds of things, and we're absolutely going to say no. We are saying no. But what we are going to do is say yes to a bright future, and that we are patriots, and that we care about each other, we care about the common good. And so we as a state should be leading the nation in all those progressive policies, and I'm going to share my good policies with other governor candidates, and together we will succeed and have a better day before us. I'm Rebecca Otto, my website, RebeccaOtto.com. Thank you, my DFL. Thank you, CD5 DFL, for this great event. Have a great evening.
And thank you to all of the candidates. And as you can see, we have a big responsibility to choose our next governor of Minnesota. So we're so fortunate again to have this excellent pool of candidates. Thank you, all of you, for being here tonight and being engaged. On behalf of my DFL and the CD5 DFL, we certainly welcome all of you, your neighbors. We invite everyone to continue to be involved and engaged in the DFL party. And